Hey, what's up? Hope you guys are doing well. How's everybody doing today? Did you guys like the music? We don't usually have music like that. And really appreciate it. Appreciate you guys sticking with the music. Let me know what you guys think. And also let me know where are you guys tuning in from? I'm sure we have people from all over tuning in. Where are you tuning in from? Do me a favor as you are logging into the stream today. Hit the like button on the video. That shoots us out into the YouTube algorithm. It's a great thing to do. It's a great thing to do. Anita says she likes the music. Cash Money, what's up, dude? Welcome. Welcome to becoming a member of the Feller Fam. Anybody who joined the Feller Fam, it's incredible. Here's what we were able to do. We're going to do 25 days of Christmas called Vlogmas, and we're posting that literally to the members part of Facebook. So only people who are members of the Feller Fam are able to see the 25 days of Vlogmas. And so day one's down. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There wasn't much that went on in my life, but I'm going to do my best to do that for people who are part of the Feller Fam. Christy tuning in from Tennessee. Michelle from California. Great to have you. Texas in the house. New York in the house. Toronto, Canada. Virginia. Love the music. Augusta, Georgia. Myrtle Beach, California. Massachusetts. Wisconsin, Ohio, North Carolina, Arkansas, Reedsville, North Carolina. Hey, Trish, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Glad to have you. Iraq, great to have you from Iraq. Venice, Florida, Pueblo, Colorado, specifically Baghdad. Great to have you. Trenton, Georgia, Southeast Michigan. Hey, Stacy, thanks for joining the Feller Fam today. Glad to have you. Means a lot that you're doing that. It's a great group of people. Promise you, you're going to love it. You get special emojis to use. And like I said, special content that's coming to you. Kansas City, Missouri in the house. Indianapolis in the house. Singapore. I really want to go to Singapore. I want to go where they have the food, like the Michelin star food that's like in the food court or whatever. Like I really want to go to Singapore. Not as bad as I want to go to Brazil. Brazil's number one on the list, but I want to go to Singapore. Arkansas, South Dakota, Alberta, Canada in the house. Virginia in the house. Great to have you. Australia. Great to see you guys. Northern Ireland. Great to have you, Liz, with us tonight. Burlington, Vermont in the house. Hawaii. Hawaii in the house. All right. Beaumont, California. What's up, Beaumont, California? Argentina. Minnesota, Australia. Literally people from all over the world here. Kansas. Great to have you guys. Unbelievable that people tune in from all over the world. And Loretta from St. Louis, Birmingham, Alabama, Texas. Unbelievable to me that people tune in from all over the world. And listen, we have a great stream planned for you tonight. And if you guys haven't done so already, feel free to just share this link out of the stream. You can share it on Facebook and Facebook groups you're in with people who follow sort of like the true crime stuff. Or you can retweet. If you have Twitter, you can retweet my tweet that I sent out that just said, join us live tonight. I promise you we have a good stream. And last night was an incredible stream. I mean, it was emotional. But we talked about things that needed to be talked about. Janine, what's up? Welcome to the Feller Fam. Welcome to the Feller Fam, Janine. So glad to have you. I wanted to go over this story. The prosecutor says the prosecutor doesn't have words after watching the Oxford High School video of the teen suspect. The prosecutor doesn't have words.
216-611. And Mr. Kosak, your appearance, or actually Mr. Keys first, your appearance.
Thank you, Judge. Mark Keys on behalf of people.
Mr. Kosak.
Once again, Your Honor, Kosak on behalf of Mr. Crumbley.
Ms. Hatton.
So I'm not going to watch that whole thing, but you can just see there 15-year-old mass shooting. And we got some clips that I'm going to play in just a second. But 15-year-old mass shooting suspect made his first appearance in the Oakland County Court following Tuesday's Oxford High School attack that killed now 4 teens and 7 are wounded. Ethan Crumbley sat in a green, sleeveless prisoner jumpsuit and said, "Yes, I do," in understanding the 24 counts against him as an adult, including 4 counts of first-degree murder, 7 counts of assault with intent to murder, 1 count of terrorism, and 12 counts of possession of a firearm. Oakland County Assistant Prosecutor Mark Keast spoke about the chilling footage. So we've had the opportunity to view the video, and what is depicted on that video, I don't have the words. There's a picture, in case you haven't seen Ethan Crumbley, there's a picture of what he looks like. So there you go. There's a picture of what he looks like. In case you are wondering. Keast said that the video apparently showed Crumbley enter a bathroom with a backpack and exit a moment later without it, holding a gun and opening fire. At that point, he deliberately aimed the gun at the students, began firing at students. Keast continued, after the students started running, he continued down the hallway, pointing the gun and firing at them, and firing in classrooms and at students who were unable to escape. Judge Nancy T. Karniak ruled that Crumbley be held without bond and be moved to the Oakland County Jail after being moved from Children's Village. "I want to err on the side of caution," said Judge Karniak, in recommending Crumbley to be moved to the adult facility. "This should be done to protect other juveniles. He will be in isolation with only contact from sheriff deputies." Crumbley also spoke twice more during the hearing, replying in the affirmative to his right to remain silent and for further directions, filling out paperwork. On Wednesday, a 4th victim of the shooting died. 15-year-old Justin Schilling, along with classmates Tate Meyer, 16, Madison Baldwin, 17, and 14-year-old Hannah St. Juliana, who were killed yesterday. Keast added that a review of phone and social media records allegedly showed Crumbley planned the shooting and brought a handgun that day to deliberately murder as many students as he could. Fox 2's Jessica Dupnack has learned through sources that Ethan Crumbley and his parents met with officials Monday and again Tuesday morning regarding his behavior in the school. The killings took place early Tuesday afternoon. Sheriff Michael Brochard confirmed that information during an update at 3 p.m. Brochard said the sheriff's department was not aware of the meetings. According to Fox 2 sources, the meeting on Monday was done regarding concerning an incident. Tuesday meeting was regarding violent drawings made by Crumbley. Also revealed on Wednesday was that Crumbley recorded a video Monday night before the violence in which he discussed killing students. So he had planned to do it. He knew he was going to do it. It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. I actually found a video of him from whenever he was just a kid. I'll play part of it for you.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Ethan. So today,
I'm like, it's like, this is probably 3-4 years ago. I mean, he's 10 or 11 in this and he's 15 now. This is 3 or 4 years ago. It's absolutely heartbreaking to see this kid in this video do what he did. Premeditated, right? Absolutely heartbreaking to think like 3 years or 4 years from now, and this kid's going to be able to do what he did.
if you haven't seen the about my ferret video, and I kind of can't really make a video right now because I'm making this video, and I also got school tomorrow, and I'm pretty sure my Nazi Zombies video will take a little bit too much time. So I decided to make a little video just of what I was talking about. Also, I will be making, hopefully a Nazi Zombies video.
There's no reason really to watch that, but it's just like sort of what Martha's saying. It's hard to believe that that's the same person. That's how I feel. It's like that kid is this killer in just 3 or 4 years. when you look at them as children, it's hard to imagine them as killers. So it's just heartbreaking. I have several videos I want to play today. They're short.
At the top of the 5 o'clock hour, all as the community works to come to grips with what has happened.
Let's get you caught up with what we know as of this moment. The suspect has been charged now as an adult. More on that in just a moment. That comes as heartbroken friends and family members are sharing memories and details of the lives that were lost yesterday. We're also getting a better sense of what happened during those frantic moments inside Oxford High School.
The suspect in the shooting, 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley, appeared in court a short time ago. He's being charged as an adult with 4 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of terrorism causing death, 7 counts of assault with intent to murder, and 12 counts of possession of a firearm in the commission of a felony.
We're going to kick off our coverage with Mara McDonald at the arraignment that just wrapped up a short time ago. Mara.
Devin, we just ran out of the courtroom, and I can tell you this. We now understand what the Oakland County prosecutor was talking about today when she said that detectives do not believe that this was a spur-of-the-moment decision. Detectives and the prosecutor in the courtroom today detailing how they found cell phone videos as well as a journal from the alleged shooter detailing how he wanted to kill his classmates.
Count 5 alleges that on November 30th, Ethan Robert Crumbley did in the township of Oxford, deliberately with the intent to kill and with premeditation, kill and murder.
Ethan Crumbley appeared from Children's Village and sat there as the judge read the names of those he's accused of killing and wounding. It took a substantial amount of time.
Sir, do you understand all the charges against you?
Yes, I do.
He faces a total of 24 counts. His responses were clear, short. Impossible to see his face because of the mask. His clearly stricken parents appeared in court via video for a moment.
Yeah, that is correct.
Detectives telling the court the accused shooter recorded videos and wrote in his journal about wanting to kill his classmates. They say this was a premeditated attack.
We've had the opportunity to review that surveillance video just this morning. And what's depicted on that video, honestly, Judge, I don't have the words to describe how horrific that was that happened on November the 30th.
Back here live, the prosecutor describing how school video captured what happened and how they say the shooter went into a bathroom with a backpack, dumped the backpack, came out, and immediately started shooting at his classmates. The judge decided just moments ago there will be no bond, and he's being moved from the Children's Village over to the Oakland County Jail.
Do you guys think he should be tried as an adult or as a child? And I agree. I'm seeing Gen H saying these poor parents. It's exactly how I feel. I mean, it's like who knows the situation? It seemed you would have never imagined that your kid's going to be doing something like that, but I don't know. Just absolutely heartbreaking. Most of you guys are saying adults. Somebody says adult, end of story. I don't know what that means, end of story. Does that mean quit talking about it? I don't know enough about all the differences between all of it, but I don't think he has a sane mind to be able to do this, you know? Like if you're capable of doing something like this, I don't think your mind is sane.
Now, from the Oakland County prosecutor and the charges in the case, let's turn back to the sheriff who broke down for us some troubling new information as this investigation continues.
Sheriff Mike Bouchard now says the school met with the suspect's parents the day of the shooting. Larry Sproul joins us live now with that part of the story. Larry.
Good evening, Kimberly and Devin. The sheriff says there were 2 meetings that they now know about. The first one happened on Monday. That meeting was between the school leaders and the suspect. And then the second meeting happened just yesterday. That meeting was between the school leaders, the parents, and the suspect that happened around 10 o'clock in the morning, just hours before the shooting. Wednesday afternoon, Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard released new details they have learned about the shooting at Oxford High School that killed now 4 students and injured several others. He also updated us about the 15-year-old suspect, Ethan Crumbley, and the amount of bullets he had.
When I said last night that he had 7 rounds left, he actually had 18.
Sheriff Bouchard says his investigators learned there were previous meetings about the 15-year-old suspect.
We have since learned that the schools did have contact with the student the day before and the day of the shooting for behavior in the classroom that they felt was concerning. In fact, the parents were brought in the morning of the shooting and had a face-to-face meeting with the school.
Sheriff says that second meeting happened around 10 o'clock Tuesday morning, and then hours later, the suspect did the unthinkable. Also, Sheriff, we're hearing that he went into the bathroom. He loaded the gun in the bathroom before walking out to shoot. Can you confirm that?
I can tell you he came out of the bathroom with the firearm and began shooting. I can't tell you if he loaded it in there.
And I asked the sheriff several questions. My first question to him was that if they believe that the suspect was bullied leading up to the shooting, he tells me they don't have any proof that that happened, neither from the school leaders as well. My second question was, did he have any mental issues? The sheriff also said no to that question. They don't have any proof that that was the case. My last question to him was that, will they have another conversation with school leaders since the school did not inform the sheriff's office about those 2 meetings? He tells me they will have another conversation with the school leaders very soon. We're live at the Oakland County Sheriff's Office tonight. Larry Sproul.
What did you guys think about that little piece of information? High school staff met with the suspect's parents that day. What did you guys think about that? Sherry says maybe the meetings are what's making him more angry, but he's probably going to do this anyways. Yeah, I wonder if the meetings had anything to do with it. Redivision says evil, just evil. It could be premeditated at any age. The principal should have had him on, according to Ann, says the principal should have had him on suspension with online only school and a security watch with him on site. That could have been stopped. He has issues plus anger we don't understand, as Trudy says. He killed multiple people. In my opinion, I just can't imagine a time where it's like you feel safe to release him to general population again. Like, in my opinion, like, I just don't. And so if he has to be tried as an adult for that to take place, that needs to happen. And then it's like that's going to bring into question, based on what we just watched, it's going to bring into question more about like the school's responsibility and how to handle that type of information whenever they receive it, right? Like, they're perceiving that there's somewhat of an issue. They're meeting with the parents. They're having conversations about it. So, you know, somebody's saying God loves the troubled ones too, or like, there's no question about God's love for them. There is questions about just if somebody has an ability in their mind at any point ever to cross into that, they'll probably at some point again in the future be triggered to at least be tempted to do it again, at least from my perspective. I just don't foresee a future where I think it would be safe for someone that's done that, you know, to be released into the population. There's no evidence one way or another if he was bullied. And so you guys are talking about that in the comment section. I don't think it's okay to really make that assumption, because we have no There's been no information given to us that would lead to us realizing what a possible motive may or may not have been. So I just err on the side of safety and say probably don't say one way or the other. Don't have a hard opinion one way or the other on that because we don't know.
Rain met. We want to turn now to Local 4 defender Karen Drew.
Karen, let's drill down into these charges that Karen McDonald described earlier for us.
All right, as we had mentioned, there is a whole long list of charges. And as Mara had mentioned, the question of a plan before this event has been made very, very, very clear. And the prosecutor said that by no means was this a spur of the moment decision by any means. This was pre-planned, and that's why this 15-year-old is being charged as an adult.
First-degree murder is the most serious of all those crimes. Second, there are facts leading up in the shooting that suggest this was not just an impulsive act.
Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald would not elaborate on details, but said her office has a mountain of digital evidence, and the attack at Oxford High School was planned well before it took place.
The investigators and my office will pour through all of those facts. They will make sure that we have left no stone unturned.
The prosecutor explained why the shooter was also being charged with terrorism.
What about all the children who ran, screaming, hiding under desks? What about all the children at home right now who can't eat and can't sleep and can't imagine a world where they could ever foot back in that school?
As for the suspect's parents, police have reported his father purchased the gun used 4 days before the attack. Could they possibly face charges?
So today is only beginning, and it's possible there could be additional charges issued very soon when that investigation is reviewed and complete.
McDonald only mentioned the accused shooter's name once, as she said the victims are the ones who should be receiving the attention.
They were innocent children who went to school. And so we're going to hold the people responsible accountable. And we're going to receive justice for these victims. And hopefully we're going to start a long-going conversation and move the needle on appropriate gun control.
And as we have reported, the suspect in this case not cooperating with authorities, either are his parents. As the prosecutor said, both parents could face charges. We're live outside of the Oakland County Courthouse. I'm Karen Drew, Local 4.
That is going to be such a fascinating part to watch as this proceeds. All right, Karen.
Chilling Video's Journal found his parents face scrutiny in the Michigan school shooting. Again, there's his picture. There's something chilling about that photo, isn't there? It's like a lot of times I think we see these photos of this type of thing and we're like, yeah, there's something really chilling about this. There's something dark behind those eyes, behind that look. I don't mean it negatively, but just think about that other video that I just showed you of him whenever he was a lot younger. Okay, look at that. There's something really chilling about that, right? Let me share that video file with you again from whenever he was younger.
Hello,
Okay.
everybody. Welcome back to my channel.
There's nothing chilling about this kid. How could that kid become this? You know what I'm saying?
Very
Look at that
happy.
kid. Just looks like an innocent kid talking about wanting to become a YouTuber or whatever. How did that kid become this? It was just dark. If it's something psychological, he's born with a disorder, that's one thing. This kid doesn't look like he's going to turn out to be this in a few years. And that is what needs to be investigated. That's what needs to be looked at. Okay? What happened? Detailed descriptions of a wish to massacre classmates on his cell phone in a journal. At least one social media post pointing to elation at access to a handgun and a meeting between his parents and school administrators about his conduct just hours before the attack. Authorities on Wednesday identified the teenage suspect in the mass shooting a day earlier at Michigan's Oxford High School as 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley, painting a picture of a clear-eyed teen who planned and executed a rampage that left at least 4 students dead and 7 others, a teacher among them, injured. Crumbley, a sophomore, was previously flagged by administrators for behavior in the classroom they felt was concerning. Oakland County Sheriff Mike Brouchard said Wednesday his parents had even been brought into the school for a face-to-face meeting. They wouldn't talk about what exactly that was. I want to know exactly what that behavior was. Nathan Swanson, who was in middle school with him, said he was really quiet, didn't really talk to people. He wore all black. I believe he was into hunting. Soree Morris, who has 2 kids who attend the high school, said they were in the building, told the Daily Beast that her younger son knew the gunman and was shocked to learn of his identity. Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald said that Crumbley, who was arraigned at late Wednesday via video with his parents on the line, has been charged as an adult with 1 count of terrorism, 4 counts of murders, 7 counts of assault with intent to murder, 12 counts of possession of a firearm. More charges to be added later. There were 2 separate videos recovered from Ethan's cell phone made by him the night before the incident and where he talked about shooting and killing students the next day at Oxford High. They also uncovered a journal that detailed his desire to shoot up the school, to include murdering students. A review of social media accounts showed he had access to a firearm, practiced with a handgun. He's being transferred to the county's adult jail. He'll be sequestered and put under suicide watch. He started planning the attack well before the incident. This is not a close call. It's absolutely premeditated. There's a mountain of digital evidence, and we are confident we can show there's premeditation. Crumbley's half-brother Eli spoke to Daily Mail, saying that the younger sibling was a happy and average kid who loved the game Minecraft and wanted to be an archaeologist. The 2 moved together from Florida to Michigan. It's still hard to believe. The Ethan I know was just a smart boy who seemed like an average kid. There was nothing that ever stood out to me. He never got suspended from school or detention. Eli said he had no idea about Ethan's possible motive. It goes back to what I was saying, as we don't know what the motive is. Brouchard said footage showed Crumbley walking out of a bathroom Tuesday afternoon before opening fire on victims. Witnesses said he was tugging on doors. We know from visible evidence he shot through doors. There were 1 or 2 private security guards working at the school on Tuesday. 100 911 calls. Crumbley surrendered about 5 minutes after the attack and handed over a semi-automatic handgun purchased by his father just 4 days ago. Investigators believe Crumbley was preparing to shoot more students. Police found 2 15-round clips and believe he may have had a third somewhere else. Crumbley, whose social media accounts were removed by Wednesday morning, was fairly active on YouTube. As a young boy, one account in his father's name, he posted numerous videos of himself playing video games such as Call of Duty and shooting hoops with friends. He's said to have flaunted the newly purchased handgun in since deleted posts. No information about a positive motive has yet to be released by authorities, although some speculated that Crumbley was bullied in school. Bouchard said there's no evidence of that, which is the sheriff. Crumbley and his parents quickly invoked their right to remain silent and retained a lawyer. The boy's father, Crumbley, 45, has worked as a tech salesman and recently ran into legal trouble over child support payments. Ethan Crumbley's mother, Jennifer, worked as a real estate broker, but her staff bio has now been taken down. She prefers the Seattle Seahawks, but is not political. They pinned an open letter to Donald Trump in which I don't even want to read that. I'm going to skip that. Okay. I don't want to read the stuff about Donald Trump. Let's take a look at him playing games with his friends.
And this is me, Santa Finder. Today we are here with our friend Charlie, which is right over.
Karen says, how many times have we seen a shooter that shows problems? But no one took initiative to take a child out of the system immediately to prevent this. Thank you, Karen, for that super chat. I mean, that's a point to be thinking about. That's what I'm saying. Like, somebody has to figure out how to evaluate these problems and when are they an actual real problem versus when they're not. And how do we know? I don't want to talk about guns, just so you guys know. Like, if you're talking about gun rules or whatever, let's not talk about it.
Over there, say hi. And with another friend, as come over here. As you can see in the other video, Door Kid, he played in here. Today we are doing a little basketball game. 2 against 2 right now. Please get down here. Thank you. Okay, so we're doing a 2 against 2 basketball.
No, we have it. I know. No. Oh, we already have it. Yeah. Back. No.
Just kids playing basketball. Just him and his friends playing basketball.
Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Ethan here.
Now keep in mind, like, this is going to make some people upset. I already know it. Keep in mind how young that kid is. How old do you think he was? It says 2016, so if he's 15 now, he's 10 years old. That's 5 years ago. He's 10 years old. Do you think that kid should be playing this game?
So today, I said this in a long time ago in one video. Kind of forgot. I think it was the Nazi Zombies one. I said this a long time ago, a couple weeks ago, that I would do a video of the games I have to show you for you to comment what games you want to play. Basically, I'm just doing Minecraft and like Nazi Zombies right now. The other Nazi Zombies Nazi Zombies video, really. So like basically, I'm those ones. We got Connect Sports, Skyrim. I don't really play that often. Lots of these games I don't really play often. Call of Duty Ghosts. This is a movie. How'd that get in there?
So, I mean, it's just a kid playing violent video games, like I said, but still. This game here that he's talking about playing?
The disc actually broke.
Good thing.
So that's probably going over there.
Good thing the disc broke. But that game that he has right there, look, it's rated 17 plus mature. And that's a specific game that a law enforcement officer told me is very dangerous for kids to be playing. And here we have a 10-year-old playing it, having it. Call of Duty, a very mature game that our son at 23-year-old, we told our son at 23 years old not to play, and he quit. Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty. Okay, like some of you guys last night were kind of on my case saying a little bit about these games, and I just don't think a 10-year-old should be playing these video games. I said that last night, and people are like, no, there's no connection, whatever. I know people play these games and don't go out and kill people, but kids shouldn't be playing these games. In the same way that kids shouldn't be going to the Travis Scott concert. In my opinion. These are violent games. Andy, thank you so much for that super chat. Thank you for that thought. There's lots of kids I know that play these games, but no kid should be playing these games. You guys are on my case again. I told you, I knew it was going to make some of you guys happy. I'm just telling you, though, if you have a little inkling in your brain to have a propensity to head towards violence, these games might unearth something that doesn't need to be unearthed. What if we surrounded these kids, instead of violent video games, they were surrounded by encouragement and helping them figure out what they were created to do. Meditating on the word of the Lord. Like, what if we created environments where that kind of thing happened instead of video games where you go and steal cars and cut people's heads off and shoot them? You see the difference? And even if other kids are playing this, there's that, and they don't go shoot, that's no excuse for them to be allowed to be playing these games. No way on earth should a 10-year-old have access to these games. Ever. 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 And I'm just saying right now, there's probably nothing anybody's going to be able to do that's going to change my mind on that. Okay? I just don't think 10-year-olds should be doing that. I hate it. I hate that's the culture we're living in. Cheryl says, I totally agree with you, Tyler. As a teacher, Linda Lou says, I know that children are impressionable. I take the ratings seriously. And I think PG-13 movies should be rated R, in my opinion. You ever watch the PG-13 movie and you're like, I don't know how they got to PG-13, but they should have been rated R. Has that ever happened to you? Because I don't think PG-13 should be like PG-18. That's my opinion. Okay? My opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but I'm entitled to my own opinion, and I'm stating it boldly. I'm interested in Ethan Crumbley's brother and some of the things that he had to say. By the way, when I was that age, I was obsessed with being outside, playing basketball, hitting pine cones across the road with a wiffle ball bat, building a fort out in the woods. Like, that's what I was obsessed with doing. Exclusive. Nothing seemed off. Ethan Crumbley's older brother, 18, says the school shooting suspect, 15, was an average, happy kid, got good grades, was into Minecraft, and here we go, and wasn't bullied. Was not bullied, according to the brother. Eli Crumbley, the older half-brother of Oxford alleged shooter Ethan Crumbley, described the suspect as an happy, average kid who didn't get into trouble. That can't be completely true because the parents were there because of the behavior the day before. Eli said, the Ethan I know was just a smart boy who just seemed like an average kid. There's nothing that ever stood out. He's never got suspended from school or detention. Eli, 18, Ethan, 15, have the same father but different mothers. And the two boys grew up in Florida, but later moved to Michigan with their dad, James, and his second wife, Ethan's mom, Jennifer. Eli hinted at some issues with his stepmom that prompted him to abruptly move to Florida with his biological mom last March. Ethan, meanwhile, remained with his parents in a small home in Oxford, Michigan, less than 2 miles from where he opened up fire Tuesday, killing 4 students. Prosecutors on Wednesday announced the teenager will be charged as an adult with 4 counts of murder and domestic terrorism. He posted a photo of his father's new 9mm handgun on the weekend, pretending it was his. There he is with his brother. Kim says this, some can drink in moderation. For others, it's a predisposition. It can be bad if you have a predisposition. Think there are many factors. Violent games may not affect all kids, but why risk it when their brain's still developing? Thank you, Kim, for that super chat. I agree with that. It's like, why on earth would you risk it? Why on earth would you subject your child to that sort of an influence? We got to be careful. We got to do a better job of guarding what kids are watching and putting in. And if you don't have if your kids are grown, then be careful what your grandkids are doing, or your great nieces and nephews are doing, or your cousin, whoever in your family. Be careful, okay? Be careful. Tell them they need to be careful. If somebody's not watching out for them, teach them to be responsible for themselves. There's nothing cool about it. There's nothing cool about some of that stuff. There's Eli Crumbley, the older half-brother, and then Ethan Crumbley. So there they are. And there he is again. Getting a Christmas tree together. Ethan's parents, James and Jennifer, hired an attorney and advised him to plead the fifth. I think we pretty much knew that was going to happen. Crumbley's father, who owns the gun, were pictured in a Zoom meeting. Ethan was on the bowling and soccer teams in middle school, but he didn't play sports in high school. His biggest hobby was video games, which he'd play at night. Ethan noted they had an aunt who died a couple months ago, and Ethan recently lost his pet dog, Tank. I really don't know if that was his reasoning behind this. He was surprised to hear that bullying may have been a factor. Ethan wasn't ever bullied as a child, according to Eli. I would like to talk to him, but I don't think that there's something that's going to happen for a while. Police on Wednesday said there's no record of the teenager being bullied, as other students have claimed, and prosecutors revealed at his arraignment that he had detailed in a journal found in his backpack he wanted to shoot students at the school. So that's his social media post right there. Andy, thank you for the super chat. You say, where did he get all those bullets? It's a lot. Apparently, his dad went on a gun spending spree on Black Friday. This is the post of that gun. By the way, the caption says, in case you can't read it, just got my new beauty today, Sig Sauer 9mm. Ask any questions, I will answer. There's nothing there that was alleging he was going to take it to school and use it. Andy, thank you for that super chat. You're right. I assume it's from him. I'm assuming it's from this Black Friday spending spree. Thank you for that super chat. Small caliber ammunition comes in 50 round boxes. Jones says, OMG, that gun in his hand was posted by him. Yeah, that's his post. Somebody had took a screenshot of it before his page got deleted. Redivision says, I couldn't live with myself if I had bought that gun. Again, I don't want to talk about gun stuff, like as far as... To me, more relevant is what happened to that kid that's making those videos what happened from this kid to that mugshot. That's the more important question that I want to ask. It's like, it's more important to deal with the root cause than just the symptom all the time. It's like the health issue that I have. I could take away some of my symptoms pretty easily, but I'm still going to have them, and I'm going to have other symptoms. But if I am a little bit more patient and I work harder at figuring out what's the real deep root cause, I might be able to eradicate it. And I think sometimes like people look for the quick fix, and there's no real shortcuts. A quick fix is just a longer road later on. And so trying to treat a symptom and a homicide problem like what we're dealing with is the wrong question. It's the wrong question. How do we prevent this from happening in the future? That's the correct question. Rebecca says, I had that exact same 9mm. It certainly did not come with a 15-round clip. It came only with a 7-round clip. Curious if it's illegal. Oh, I would assume it is. Illegal 15-round clip. Legal in Michigan. Large capacity magazines in Michigan, they have no laws regulating magazine capacity ammunition. So it's legal in Michigan. Thank you, Rebecca, for that super chat. That's a thought that I didn't have. For sure. That's a thought that I did not have. And that's a good question. Again, I want to know what happened to this kid here that he became the kid in the mugshot. There's their house. The Crumbley home. Joy. Little welcome banner. Joy. American flag hanging up. And then here's the victims. And then here the students are praying at the church. In case you're wondering, Oxford's north of Detroit. That's how far north. It's just absolutely heartbreaking, guys. Absolutely heartbreaking. There's the family. I saw one video showed one of the students released from the hospitals at church service. Yeah, we watched that last night, Rhonda.
Tonight, we're hearing from students and the Oakland County Sheriff about what it was like inside Oxford High School during those frantic and terrifying moments.
Walking down the hallway, shooting at random, sending students and teachers scrambling to try to make it to safety. Defender Sean Lay spent the day working to break down all that happened. He's live at Oxford High School tonight. Sean.
Devin, Kimberly, students who are right there want to share their experiences with us to get a better understanding of how this could actually happen. We also had a long conversation with Sheriff Bouchard. He revealed to us after watching the video of this that the shooting was all in the hallway, that the victims were not targeted. This was random as the shooter burst out of a restroom. And the shooter, he says, after watching the video, was trying to enter classrooms.
I was there.
Oxford senior Owen Avey says it was between classes when gunshots were heard.
Gunshots, get out of the building.
For Owen and his classmates, there was a way out.
Thankfully, my classroom was near an exit door, and I just used that to exit the building.
Sheriff Michael Bouchard picks up the chaos from there after he reviewed school security camera video.
Yeah, he was working his way up and down hallways.
The sheriff tells us the shooter was seen coming out of the restroom, pointing the gun, and then the worst.
I mean, it's gut-wrenching. Even as a police officer where you see terrible, terrible things, this is horrific and cold-hearted.
Students were shot, all at extremely close range.
Absolutely brutal and cold-hearted.
He says the gunman then turned and continued firing at students and through classroom doors.
In the hallway and sometimes in the classrooms.
Back here live, the sheriff says after watching that horrible video to get more information here, he could see the shooter shooting through windows and shooting through those classroom doors. I'm Defender Sean Lay, Local 4. Back to you.
Really something. All right, Sean.
It's absolutely heartbreaking, you know. Loretta, Real Talk with Retta says, "Isn't it amazing how everyone always ends up back at church?" Yeah, and I'm grateful, and I love the church that it's a place of refuge and it's a place of hope. I wish more people made it a part of who they were, their life. Would certainly eradicate a lot of problems, you know. Avery says, "One thing we know for sure, something's terribly wrong with this child. How his parents didn't know is beyond me. I am too close to my children. I know when they're constipated before they do." Oh. Kim says, "I'm not blaming the game, but it definitely sounds like he was acting out a game." That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think these ideas of how to do this are well formulated if it's not for games, violent video games. Again, I know you guys hate when I say that, but it's true. In my opinion.
We want to focus on the young lives that were cut too short.
17-year-old Justin Schilling was a co-captain of the Oxford bowling team and a golfer.
Hannah St. Juliana, 14-year-old volleyball player and basketball player. Her family says the best word to describe Hannah is joyful.
17-year-old Madison Baldwin was a talented artist, big sister. She loved to read and write.
16-year-old Tate Meir was an honor student and a talented athlete. Tate was a junior on the football team, and tonight nearly 70,000 people have signed a petition to rename the school's stadium after him.
We're hearing from his friends who say he was funny, respectful, and would do anything for anyone. Karen Drew is live tonight. Karen, they're not just sharing their loss, but they're also taking us through what went on inside that school as well.
I was able to sit down with Olivia and Miranda. They are friends of Tate's, and they said they wanted to talk because they wanted to talk about Tate. They wanted to talk about how special he was, how funny he was, how kind he was. They grabbed their phones. They were going through the pictures, telling me stories of what a leader he was. And as they were looking at those pictures, of course, it brought them back to memories of yesterday.
And everyone is just screaming, "Run." So I ran like pretty far, probably farther than I should have.
16-year-old Olivia Dare was walking back from lunch when she heard the gunshot.
I just kind of like yelled at my teacher, like, "School shooter, school shooter." He did not even doubt me for a sec. He went straight to the door, locked it, barricaded it, sent another student to the other door.
At the same time, her friend, 16-year-old Miranda Wanimko, was doing the same thing a few halls away.
We have the night lock that Oxford has right next to our doors. So we put the night lock in the door, and I just grab desks and I put them along the door, just trying to fit as many as possible. And then we all run to the corner.
Little did they know, their childhood friend and football star, Tate Meir, had been shot in the hallway and was bleeding out.
If you ask anyone from Oxford, Tate would be the guy to go after the gunman. He would be the one to save everyone's lives, like put everyone's lives before his.
Time passed, texts exchanged. No one heard from Tate.
When did you know there could have been something wrong with Tate?
I was in the car on my way home with my dad, and he was like, "Hey, you should call Tate. Like, no one can find Tate." So I called Tate. He didn't answer. So I thought his phone may have died or he just ran somewhere else.
Then they got news. Tate had died.
Tate was just one of those guys that would literally do anything for anyone. Everyone just loved him.
He's such a funny kid. All parents respected him. He was so respectful, so funny, super athletic, just the guy that you would want to be around.
A day after, friends are retracing their steps and remembering Tate's.
Tate was in the courtyard with his girlfriend, and they were splitting up. So his girlfriend was going to a class this way. He was going to the class this way, walking through physics. And that's when it happened.
That's when it happened. It was a hard interview, sitting down talking with those young children, and that's what's important to say in the story. They are children that are dealing with this. They do say they felt like they had the training from the school, but they did mention while they were prepared, that training they got was actually from middle school. They had no practice sessions in their high school, and that was a little bit concerning. I did ask them, do you think you're going to feel comfortable going back to school? And they said, no, not right now. They can't envision going back. And of course, I don't think anybody could at this.
Could you imagine going back to school? There's no way on earth even stepping foot into that same school again. I couldn't imagine it. It's like, if you went to school there and that happened, there's no way on earth I could imagine stepping foot back into that place. Real Talk with Retta says, I wish they'd never taken God out of the schools. I love the Pledge of Allegiance and a short prayer. Me too. I agree with you. We should start a petition to mandate the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer in school. It'd be amazing if we could do that. But you're right. It makes a difference. When you give God the first part of your day and the best part of your day, he takes care of the rest. Give God your first and your best. He'll take care of the rest. Hey, Kim.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Andy sends a super chat. By the way, Retta, thank you for that super chat. Andy sends a super chat and says, we need to pray for the shooters, mom and dad. We need to continue to pray for the victims' family and the healing of the body, of the minds of the kids. Absolutely, Andy. I am on the same page with you. It's like, I've prayed many times, just like I'm heartbroken over it. I have a hard time even processing it. We need to like literally have a reminder every time it crosses our mind throughout the day. We need to stop and literally take a time to pray about it. You might think that your prayer may not do anything, but I can promise you, your small act of prayer here in the physical realm moves mountains in the spiritual realm. And so anybody who's a believer, definitely, I think you should pray. Thank you, by the way, Andy, for that super chat. And thank you, Kim, for calling in.
Yeah, absolutely. My super chat was kind of, I guess, didn't really say exactly what I wanted to say because of the 200 characters. But really, what I was trying to say is I don't think, video games in and of themselves, I mean, there's, yes, as several have said, there's plenty of kids who play video games and even play some of the violent video games that never do bad things. That's completely true. And just to show that I'm being not hypocritical, I'm not sure which one, but our youngest son, who's now 20, we were always a lot at the ball field with our oldest son. And so I, come to find out our youngest son was playing a lot of these war video games that I never wanted him to play. And he's probably the sweetest person you'll ever meet. So I'm not saying that all children are influenced a certain way. However,
me neither.
However, when you look at all the different factors that probably go into what makes school shooters, and not necessarily, we don't know a lot about this one, but school shooters or, make school shootings happen. A lot of times they talk about mental health. They talk about bullying. They talk about society. They talk about music. They talk about video games. They talk about medication. They talk about drugs. So many of those things as parents we're so limited to control. So if I had it to go back and do over again, and like I said, thank goodness I got lucky. My second son who played all these games is an absolute sweetheart. But if I had to go back and do it all over again, why add another factor that we can't control?
Right.
And so I think what it does is it is desensitizing. And I mean, nobody could probably ever convince me otherwise, because I know a lot about, probably as you do too, desensitization. And it's, exposure, repeated exposure to anything is desensitizing. Go ask a police officer how he felt the first time he went to his first homicide scene and what happened, and then what happened at his 15th. Two totally different stories. Most policemen will tell you at their first homicide scene, some were throwing up, some were, passing out. And then by the time they see their 15th, it's a whole different story. Well, it's the same with these video games. And so whether it turns them into a violent person or whether they were already violent and it brought out those tendencies or whatever. The point of the matter is it is desensitizing.
Yeah.
And that's what worries me. And that's kind of what I was saying about the alcoholic. You know, some people can drink and they're fine, but then other
Yep.
people who have a predisposition to alcoholism don't need to ever drink. And you don't necessarily know which one is which. So why risk it?
And I would say this too, on top of all that, regardless of any of that stuff, a 10-year-old, regardless, a 10-year-old should not have games like that ever. If they're the world's best citizen or they're not, I don't understand how giving them access to incredibly violent and mature 17 and 18 and over video games is helpful in any way. Minecraft, I actually think is a good game because I think it unlocks some creativity and stuff. Like, I think it's a really good game.
I tried to force my kids on the sports games, you know.
Sports games is another one I think are good, you know, but
they'd go to a friend's house and end up playing the games you try to keep them away from. So it is challenging. And I totally agree with, you know, obviously one of the things I think people missed last night sometimes is that you weren't necessarily saying that games are bad. You were quoting a real study, a real scientific study.
I was quoting a high-ranking officer that specifically deals with murders on a daily basis. And he was telling me what their studies have shown, and it scared him enough to throw his away. So, and that was a personal first-person conversation me and him had.
And it's
so
hard
it
to
made me a
argue
little
with
bit.
data.
Yeah, it made me nervous too. And it's like firsthand data. Digital Spark says this, and I think it's a good point. Notice how not a single person has mentioned or commented on kids on psychotropic medications, antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, stimulants, antipsychotics, and mood stabilizers. I took a stimulant, just so people know. I took Adderall, and I didn't have any like negative effect. It was a net positive effect. I just prefer not to be on medicine at all in general, but I do, like I was telling last night, I do have ADHD, and Adderall was effective. If they're used correctly, they are effective. If they're not used correctly, or they're, you know, or they're misused, or they're not under proper treatment, then they're not going to be effective. And the thing that I hate about that whole world is psychiatrists or doctors who specialize in prescribing that medication. A lot of times there's a psychiatry shortage. And so underneath of psychiatrists are nurse practitioners. I have a psychiatrist that I do some consulting work with and I have for several years, and I've talked about him quite a bit. He does his practice way differently, but in most psychiatry offices, it's 10 minutes with either a psychiatrist or a nurse practitioner, and it's just the meds and then they're out. In his office, it's 1 hour mandatory every time, minimum. Sometimes it's 3 hours because they're wanting to make sure that the kids that they have are being treated appropriately. And I just think it's so inappropriate that we do throw medicine at kids. And it's not true in every case, but in a lot of cases it is.
Absolutely. And I mean, I know a lot of the Feller fam, you know, that was on our first Feller fam night knows my family's story, but my oldest son, who is a born again Christian, he's 23 years old and a Christian rapper, at last year was prescribed Adderall, but was also, come to find out, smoking pot like a lot of athletes do, surprisingly, because a lot of them don't drink because they think drinking is bad for the body. But anyway, regardless, a lot of people thought I was being judgmental about drugs, but I've lived it firsthand. It caused full-blown psychosis in my son. Because marijuana is a stimulant, most people don't understand. It's a stimulant. You add that to the Adderall, which was also a stimulant. And then nicotine, you know, because a lot of baseball players dip tobacco, which is high in nicotine. So I wasn't being judgmental. I've actually lived it. So there's definitely a time and a place for pharmacology. But like you said, even now, the doctor he sees for medication for 10 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's frustrating to me, especially. So I've spent a lot of time at this psychiatry office because essentially what I did was come up with their digital media plan, and I've spent literally days, like 8 or 10 hours in the office meeting with the staff and the leadership team there, learning about how they do what they do. And you know, it's like he's a Christian and a believer, and he approaches it like he calls it long-term therapeutic care. And he's like, we're going to be with these people for 20 or 30 years.
Mhm.
That's our goal. And so we're going to have to do things differently because we're going to really get to know them, because I want to know if things are out of whack or not. And I know most situations, I know from my own experience of being prescribed Adderall, it is literally a 5-minute or less most of the time conversation. And the patient's the best advocate. I don't have a propensity to addiction or things like that, which Adderall is highly addictive. So I have no problem just being my best advocate and saying, no, I don't think we need to go up. I'm fine with where we're at or whatever. I could see a lot of people saying, yeah, I need an increase. I need an increase. And they just grant it, even though they don't. And I'm not saying that happens with kids. I don't know what happens, you know, specifically. And we don't know if this young man was on any medicine, but I do think it's a problem. I think, and I said it last night too, I think the diet is a problem. Like I told Diane, I'm like, there's people in your generation, the generation above it, you guys cut your own chickens' heads off and you unpluck the feathers. You know, we don't have that same luxury. So
yeah, we're getting an Amber Alert here in Georgia. But yeah, I totally agree. The doctor that actually put my son on it was while he was away at college playing ball. And it was a general practitioner, well, a nurse practitioner in a general practitioner's office.
Yep.
And so, you know, I mean, there was little follow-up. There was no therapy at that time, no alternative treatment discussed, you know, I mean, so I'm not blaming anyone. He was a 21-year-old man at the time, but he was still young. That's still the brain's developing. Yep. And, you know, of course, they didn't need my permission, but I would have made sure it was a little bit more of a comprehensive medical assessment, you know, rather than that. But I think the bottom line for me is it's one of many factors, but it's one that we can control as parents when our kids are young. And there's so many we can't. You know, I feel like that's one area where we should, because we can, and that's just one less thing we have to worry about, I guess, is the point.
Happy Caffeinate Couple says it's a rare person that can carry out an action without envisioning it first. Violent games can help envisioning these things first. Not saying it's a total cause, but combined with other factors, it can add to the mix. Thank you, Happy Caffeinate Couple, for that thought. And I think we're generally on the same page as that thought. Like, nobody's saying it's this game, it's the total cause. I'm saying 10-year-olds shouldn't have access to this game, and it certainly helped him visualize himself doing it because he had done it many times before that on a game.
Right. It's definitely desensitizing, and it, you know, steals your nerves to it. And especially if there was any sort of mental, you know, we won't probably know that, but if there was any sort of mental issue going on, it can be depersonalizing as well. Because, you know, like we talked about the other night, technology removes a layer of humanity, right? Yeah. And so it's depersonalizing. So these people that become essentially at your school become characters or non-playable characters, NPCs in your game. Anyway, I think it is just a conglomeration of factors. But the bottom line too is, you know, I know we're not to talk about gun control, but irresponsible gun ownership is a problem. Not necessarily gun ownership, but, you know, a kid shouldn't have access to the.
Which I think Avery sent a super chat. She said this: if you choose to be a parent, you're choosing to be consistent in all aspects of your child's life, hobbies, games, thoughts, feelings. A good parent would know something is up. I blame the parents. He was unsupervised. Thank you, Avery, for that super chat. Hope you're feeling better. Been praying for you. You know, I'm your prayer partner. Whenever you need prayer, message me. And I know many people in the Feller fam are praying for you too, but she brings up a good point. Like, I'm very close to my little cousin Lily, and I got like a sixth sense with her because I've been with her so much in her young 13 years. Like, I know when something's up, you know? Like, I can just look at her and be like, yeah, what's going on, you know?
For sure. Well, I'll jump off and let others jump on, but that was just, I want to make sure I clarified, because it's hard to put everything you want to say in 200 characters.
Yes. Thank you for calling in, Kim.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Real Talk with Retta says, in a kids' camp vacation Bible school, there were literally hundreds on drugs, including Xanax, Valium, and ADHD drugs. A lot of kids slept during the class. It's heartbreaking. Like, I worked at a school. I'm well aware of that same problem, and and it's like, you can tell when the kids are on that stuff. You can tell when it wears off. It's heartbreaking. It is a problem. Thank you for you're making me realize how much more of a problem it really is. Thank you, Retta, for that. Like, it is. It's a big problem. It's a big problem. Somebody's got to do something about it. Maybe that's part of something we all get really frustrated about on this channel.
And also today, Sheriff's Office tried to clear up what they say is a lot of misinformation that's been circulating in the community.
That's right. Sean Lay is at the high school tonight getting answers to the questions a lot of parents are asking.
A mom and dad overcome with emotion at Oxford High School today. Other parents are angry, believing concerns about a possible shooting were ignored. Sheriff Michael Bouchard helping us determine why some parents feel that way. In mid-November, a post to social media indicating that someone wanted to shoot up a school got shared multiple times around Oxford High School. School officials and sheriff's investigators were alerted.
We were part of that investigation. We determined that it was somebody in a different state and had nothing to do not only with this school district, but the state.
That investigation prompted the school administration on November 12th to put out this email reading, quote, "We are aware of numerous rumors that have been circulating throughout our building this week," saying no threat was made to Oxford High School. Parents are pointing to the email as a red flag for yesterday's shooting, but the sheriff says so far they have found no red flags related to yesterday.
Then a letter went out from the school saying there was a threat. It was not credible because it had nothing to do with this school. And some people have cross-pollinated those two things.
So why did some kids stay home yesterday?
Nothing came to us about a credible threat yesterday or about kids being held home. But tragically, we've got a lot of very concerned parents all over the place.
Absolutely. And as those questions continue, all of us, of course, thinking about Oxford and, of course, Hannah, Madison Tate, and now, of course, Justin. But we got so many questions about this email from November 12th. The sheriff now debunking the email, saying it has nothing to do with the shooting. But guys, to put the threats in social media in perspective, the sheriff says his investigators have had to track down 3 different threats in the last week, all in that same area that turned out to be really nothing when they went to that. But they're spending so much time on the social media threats.
So there's some levels of misinformation. Like I told you guys yesterday, be very careful on who you're listening to. Bring some information about this, okay? Be very careful. Brian Hinton put a tweet out today. He said this. He said the Secret Service studied 67 averted school shootings according to their data. Targets have been 40% classmates, 28% staff and admin, 13% school resource officer, 9% family, 6% law enforcement. The report says that school violence is preventable when warning signs are identified.
Was killed at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, almost 4 years ago.
Max, what was your first reaction when you heard about what happened in Michigan?
Oh, my heart sank. I feel horrible for these families, 3, and now we just had a 4th victim pass away.
Max has made it his life's work to prevent school shootings, starting Safe Schools for Alex and working with the U.S. Justice Department.
The U.S. Secret Service's National Threat Assessment Center just did an analysis. They just put out a report where they analyzed 67 of the averted attacks that were prevented. And what we saw was that an effort to see something and say something can prevent these acts of targeted violence.
According to that Secret Service report, the specific targets in the averted attacks were classmates 40% of the time, administrators and staff 28% of the time, school resource officers 13%, family 9%, and other law enforcement 6% of the time. But bottom line, the report says school violence is preventable when warning signs are identified. One new way of tracing those warning signs is through cutting-edge software that can comb social media for threats and clues.
That's one of them that's preventative and certainly would give individuals early warning that something possibly could occur and requires additional research.
And we still don't know if anything was posted to social media directly related to the Michigan shooting, but the sheriff there does say that the suspect recorded a video where he talked about wanting to kill his classmates. Marnie?
That is heartbreaking. He posted a video where he talked about wanting to, and we already knew some of that because we've been talking about it. But again, a lot of Brian Hinton stuff is coming from a perspective of Parkland because of Florida and just where he's based at in Miami. But Avery says, like with ADHD, it's proven those kids have lower levels of omega-3 fatty acids. Parents need to research. Research is a valuable tool, a very valuable tool. And I don't know, I'm not saying I don't know anything about omega-3 fatty acids other than they told me yesterday I need to take more of those. But I'm just saying, like, research is a valuable tool. You can usually find out a better answer to what you're dealing with through good research. And that's in every area of life. Digital Spark says long-term use of any prescription or otherwise affects development, especially when we're dealing with people's minds who haven't developed this. We're talking about like children should not be having to deal with this, right? Like they're much too young. Charlize says, I was there when Parkland happened. My good friend lost her daughter. When I saw this, I just cried. Thank you, Charlize, for that super chat. I couldn't imagine. I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that and be there. It's heartbreaking. I'm so sorry. Sorry to your friend who lost his daughter. I would imagine that you would cry. I would imagine that hit you. By the way, I just want to shout out Cash Money, who became a member. What's up, Cash Money? Thank you. Also, Stacy and Janine became members of the Feller Fam today. I'm doing something special for the month of December for Feller Fam members. I am doing, and we're going to have a producers only stream too, producer level and up only stream soon as well. But for anybody at any level of membership in the Feller Fam, I'm doing 25 Days of Christmas Vlogmas. And so I posted a vlog today only for the members. And I'm going to read the Christmas story, actually the whole life of Jesus, the book of Luke, throughout the month. And so it's going to be great. And you can check that out if you're a member. And if you're not a member, I would highly encourage you to become a member. And if you're interested in that, I mean, it's going to be good. I think it was good. Did you guys enjoy it? Those of you who saw the video today, did you guys enjoy it? Plus, you get access to special emojis, like the amen emoji. Grandma Nancy says yes. Some of you guys are talking about the diet. I think the diet is really impactful. Like I said that a few times. Like I think the diet is much more impactful than some people realize. I know some parents are aware of their kids' reactions to like red dye 40 or whatever. Like they're aware of it. And so they're very careful. They shop at like organic stores or whatever where that stuff doesn't happen as much. And some parents are not aware. And I think to a large degree, some of our body sort of like might react normal, but over time it may have a negative impact on us. So Melissa says it was great, loved it. Thanks for doing it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching that. I'm going to try to do one every day. and we'll see. S-Max says, how is there only 11 likes? That's how many likes were on the video when you came on it. It doesn't always increase. So there's several hundred likes on the video. If you guys haven't liked the video, though, I would encourage you to like the video. Okay, more details emerge about the 15-year-old. Let's see if this is good information. The school did contact the student the day before the shooting for behavior in the classroom they felt was concerning. I want to know what that concerning information was. Somebody needs to let loose and tell us, what was that concerning information? Did they see pictures in the notebook? Hey, Marissa, how are you?
Hey, oh my God, that was the fastest you've ever answered.
Boom, I was on it.
Yeah, you were. You're on it tonight. So I just have questions about because it comes across as really judgmental to me, and I don't understand. That's the problem I have, is like I can understand, I understand what everybody's saying. I get it. I'm not arguing that violent video games aren't good for people, aren't good for children. I understand that. But I don't understand the whole I don't understand why everybody's so judgy when there's all these verses. I mean, I've Googled all these verses about how from the Bible that you're not supposed to judge. But everybody that's so Christian does. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know if people are meaning to judge, and I'm sorry if it comes across that way. For me, I'm talking about principally speaking, like a principle. And it's like a judgment would be like very specific about a person and talking very negatively about that person. And I don't feel like I've done that at all. But in principle, I would say I don't think that 10-year-olds should be playing games that are rated 17 and over or 18 and over.
Right.
In principle. And I don't think that's judgmental to say that. I think that's appropriate to say that.
Well, yeah, you're entitled to your opinion. I'm probably just being sensitive because because pretty much everything y'all say is bad. I do, or I let my son do. So it's like, I don't know. I'm not gonna do it. Why do I always do this? I don't cry easily, but apparently when I get on here, I do.
It's an anointing that comes out when you call in. Well, listen, you're entitled to parent however you want, and you have to do that with conviction. If you feel like it's okay and that's the decision that you've made, stand firm on that. Like, this is why I made this decision. This is how we're handling it, and this, and that's totally up to you. But
well, I think I am, but I don't know. I feel alone. I have a husband, but I feel alone in my parenting. I feel alone in everything I do. I don't know. I don't know if I'm making the right decisions. And then when I hear all this criticism, I start questioning it. But then I'm like, my son's so great, I don't want to change what I'm doing. I'm trying to do the opposite of pretty much everything my mom did, but I don't know.
It sounds like you have some deeper thinking about this particular issue, and I this is going to make people upset, but probably to me, there's a huge difference between Fortnite and Call of Duty and whatever Grand Theft Auto. There's a huge difference between those. And I have reasons for that. My issue with Fortnite more than anything is the fact that they can get on there and play games with people around the world and have conversations with them, and you don't know who you're talking to on the other side. It's not violent and vulgar like the other games are, where blood comes out and heads get chopped off and whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Fortnite, he doesn't really even play that one much anymore, but he does get on the servers. I mean, his best friends, he's been best friends with two people, one in Burleson that's not even far from Dallas, and one in Tennessee. And he's played with these two boys, and I've checked everything out on him. I even I had to listen to their voices. I had to look at their pictures. I checked them all out to make sure they're not, Chester molesters.
Weird.
And they've been like, since he's an only child, and we live in Garland, but I drive him to Rowlett, which is a suburb next to Garland, because I like the schools there better. So he doesn't have any kids in the neighborhood. So these kids on his PlayStation have been his, his friends for the past 2 years, until he just recently has a friend now. He comes over. But anyways, they've been his friends on there, I guess. If he didn't talk to them during COVID, he wouldn't have had any socialization. I guess because I am a stay-at-home mom, I'm really present with him. I mean, we're just like, I don't want to say best friends because I know we're not supposed to be best friends, but we're really close. I mean, if you saw us together, we look exactly alike. He looks exactly like me. I mean, we're really close. We even make fun of my husband together. I mean, it's just, and he could totally be doing stuff I don't know about. I mean, I'm not naive to that, but I have the whole Google parenting thing on his phone. I have every single password to everything. But he also has all the stuff he's not supposed to. But I did ask Alexa today if she was demonic, and she said no.
So you're like, that one might be safe.
Yeah.
Well, I think you can release the valve of pressure you're feeling from people in the chats, conversation, take a deep breath, and do some soul searching. Like, I don't know what games your son's playing, but,
I'm not going to tell you.
You might just be like, I don't know, and make a decision either way and just stick to it. And I don't have a 10-year-old, so I don't even have a right to say anything, to be honest with you.
He's 11 now.
I don't have an 11-year-old. I have a 13-year-old girl that I named Lily. That's my little cousin that I've watched quite a bit over her lifetime. And, very, 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 very particular of what she watches. And so is her mom. Probably the most strict you would imagine ever, but that's my own personal philosophy. So, and I'm not saying it's right. Lily might grow up and do the opposite. It's just it's one way. But I do think there's a difference between free range and then, you're engaged, you're seeing what's happening, you're having conversations. Hopefully you're checking notebooks and whatever, just knowing what he's into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, I am.
If you talk to this officer that I was telling you about, it would scare you enough to break all the games in half.
Oh God. Well, seeing how innocent that little boy was, it was just like,
I know
that really, I mean, I was speechless because I mean, that's like my little Jake. And I'm like thinking, in 4 years, he'll be 15 or 16. I can't do math, but he'll be around there and I can't even imagine it. And he promises he's never going to be rude, but I don't know. He said he'd never get past 7, and look, he's 11 now.
It's very hard to look at the videos of that kid whenever he's younger and say that kid became a killer. What happened? Like that's the bigger question to me. I don't want to talk about the gun thing because it, in my mind, is second tier or largely irrelevant to the fact that something happened between the age when that kid's outside playing basketball with his friends to where he's at today, which is locked in a jail cell being tried as adult for 12 different issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but feel okay about yourself. I know you're engaged as a parent and pray about it.
We'll
Seek
see
the Lord
if he's
about
on the
it.
news in a few years. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that
not a good joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't say that.
Okay. He's not going to be. He's so smart. He's going to be on the news for being in the. Who's that?
I added Avery to the call. Avery, by the way, Avery is a psychologist. Some people don't know that.
Well, I got my master's in psychology back in 2010, but I never went and got my state licensing or actually worked my degree because of my son being born disabled. But I wanted to call and tell you, Marissa. I know I sound awful, you guys, because I've been sick, so just like ignore that part. But I wanted to tell Marissa. So like my son Jaden, he just turned 11, and of course he's disabled, so he doesn't do the physical things that most kids do. So he plays games, but like your child, their maturity level. You know how much you talk to your son, the conversations that you have with your son. And I can tell by the things that you're saying that you have a very good, awareness to like what he's thinking and feeling. And so it's not so much like judging about parents letting their kids play the games. I think it's more the parents who don't pay attention to their kids and just let them go crazy with these games. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Because
because my son plays some games that he probably shouldn't be playing, but I know his maturity level and I have such a close relationship with him that I mean, I wouldn't, I talk to him about it. And so as long as you are keeping open communication with him and talking to your child and not using the games to raise your child for you, then I think you're doing excellent.
well, thank you.
And the fact that you're even concerned about it, you're on the show concerned about it, that tells me right there that you're doing what you need to be doing. It's the parents who aren't concerned are the ones that we have to worry about.
Well, I was the child who was making the wrong decisions. My mom was a teacher, and so she wasn't home after school. She wasn't there in the morning. So I was unattended, doing stuff I wasn't supposed to be doing. So
Yeah.
I know I lost my train of thought, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I just don't want you to be so hard on yourself because just the fact that you care and you're on here even expressing that tells me that you're on top of the game. You're good to go. I could tell that if something was to start going wrong with your child, you would know it in a New York second.
I hope so. You just never know. It just takes too much bullying for your child to commit suicide or,
Yeah.
just so many things that just happen. Kids are so cruel. And he told me he's finally in the popular group this year, but that might not last. So.
Oh, well, you need to tell him the popular group doesn't mean anything.
He's gonna change schools. Yeah.
I'm serious. Like, don't encourage that though. I would not make that, I mean, I know that's important to them, but I don't know. Jaden has the attitude like if you don't like me, you don't like me. If you do like me, then, basically.
Oh, no, he's like that too.
Yeah. Yeah, because you want them to have their own self-confidence regardless of, who they're hanging around.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, I think you're doing good. And I was listening to you and I was like, man, I don't even think I'm strong enough to have a conversation, but I'm going to call and tell her.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. Because you're definitely wise. I'm definitely going to listen to you. I would pay you even though you're not licensed. I think you know what you're doing.
No, I mean, if you ever want to talk, we both have 11-year-olds. And hey, I have 2 girls that are older and they're like I'm very proud of my kids. They're very accomplished and
I bet your kids are awesome.
they've never really been in trouble. But if you ever want to message me, we can kid talk all you want.
Yeah. I have like 3 best friends and they are so busy with their lives that I see them maybe once a month if I'm lucky.
Yeah. Well, that's part of being a mom too. We have no life outside of them.
Yeah.
That's why we have the Feller show. We have Tyler.
I get to talk so much on here.
All right, y'all. I'm going to let you go, but you're doing good.
Okay.
Thanks for calling in, Avery. That was
All
awesome.
right.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay.
Do you feel better, Marissa?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry that I jumped on you.
It's
I
okay.
didn't. You're entitled to your opinion, and I was just being sensitive. Sorry.
No, it's
You know,
okay.
I'm like a Sour Patch Kid. Be outside.
Well, thank you for calling in, and don't be so hard on yourself, and
Right.
appreciate you being a part of our group.
Thank you.
Charlize says, Tyler, it seems when he was separated from his brother that something happened. It seems like he isolated and video games became his BFF. Sad. Yeah. Sad. Very sad. Heartbreaking. Very sad and heartbreaking. And I'll say this too. Along those lines, something that people haven't really talked about, but whenever, and I don't, this is not a political statement, but I'm just going to, so don't take it politically, okay? But whenever COVID happened, all of these young people, teenagers, were thrust into an environment where they were not allowed to have any type of social interaction. All of their parents start freaking out because I'm talking about the beginning, first 6-7 weeks of it. All of their parents start freaking out because they have no idea what their income is going to be. Are they going to lose their job? Are they not going to lose their job? Thank you, Charlie, for that super chat. And that conversation that adults and parents should have privately a lot of times doesn't happen privately, and the teenagers are able to hear it. Everybody's sort of freaking out together because it's a new situation. And so the teenagers are having to wear the anxiety of what the parents are going to have to process through, on top of wearing the anxiety of no interaction with their friends, on top of wearing the anxiety of figuring out how to do online school, on top of wearing the anxiety of no social clubs, no school clubs, no sporting events, no basketball teams, all that shut down. You tell me if that doesn't have an impact on the minds of teenagers. I know firsthand that it does. Big time. We cannot separate people from each other and expect that it's not going to have an impact. In fact, teenager anxiety and depression levels were higher than they've ever been. It like quadrupled because of COVID. Separation of it, the anxiety that came down because of it. It's heartbreaking. So I think that impacted some of it. And then they got to go back to school, and there's all these new regulations about school. Social distancing, and have to sit at a lunch table by yourself because you're going to take your mask off. And there's 14 different, sort of like things that they're going to have to try to follow when they do go back. Then somebody gets sick around them and they have to be quarantined for 2 weeks. Like, it just is heartbreaking. In fact, the University of Utah came out with this study, and they said America's youth are facing a mental health crisis. 75% of mental disorders happen between 10 to 24. Suicide is the second leading cause of death. In Utah, it is the leading cause of death. More than 140,000 children in the United States lost a caregiver during the COVID-19 outbreak. Anxiety disorders, substance abuse problems, and a high risk of suicide, which then lead to long-term health problems, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and obesity. we've made America's youth deal with problems that they shouldn't have to deal with. It's unfortunate. Okay, other thing I wanted to talk about today. JB Buono, Laundrie family attorney, told me today, to be fair, leave them alone. Case and story is over. I asked this question in the chat. Do you guys think the Laundrie case is over? 72% of you said no. 72% of you said no. By the way, I just want to shout out Josh, Karen, and Mama Smashley. Thank you for joining the Feller fam today. Congratulations. You joined a great group of people. Promise you're going to love it. Make sure to join the Feller fam Facebook page. There's lots of good stuff that happens on the Feller fam Facebook page. Make sure to join the Feller fam Facebook page, and then stay tuned for Vlogmas. Stay tuned for Vlogmas. It's going to be awesome. So let me read to you more specifically this conversation. So JB says, the Laundrie family attorney, Steve Bertolino, was in contact with law enforcement during the month of November, though it's unclear what the inquiries were about. His clients, Chris and Roberta Laundrie, didn't have any direct contact with law enforcement during that time. I still get routinely asked what's next in the investigation and will the Laundries be charged. To be clear, the FBI hasn't given any indication that the Laundries are suspected of any crime connected to the deaths of Gabby Petito or Brian Laundrie. No charges of any kind have been filed against Brian's parents, though it's worth noting that the Northport police said in October that there's a lack of cooperation from family early on in this investigation. Whether that lack of cooperation leads to any potential charges, only time will tell. He said, I texted Bertolino today. I gave him the opportunity to offer any additional context, saying, I'm just working to be fair in my reporting. His response was, to be fair, leave them alone. Case and story is over. What do you think? Is the case over? Swirefly says, it's over. Leave them alone. I would say they do need some time to grieve, honestly. Redivision says, it is not over. Kelly says, nope. Colleen says, nope, it's not over. Let's see what some people are saying in the comments. The story will never be over. Their son killed a beautiful young girl and destroyed families lost. In my opinion, he said this to you because he knows that him and the Laundrie's gooses are cooked and he's bent out of shape. I agree with this comment here. It's not over until someone says they know the exact person who strangled Gabby. Avery says, I talked messaged with Cassie today. No, it's not quite over. Legal charges aren't happening. However, we need clear, concise answers regarding Gabby's death. Yep. It's not over. It's paused. I mean, I think they need time to grieve. But, I mean, millions of Americans and people around the world were in on this. And until we know what happened to Gabby, until there's a real closure as far as from a legal standpoint of who did it, it's not over. Hey, Shelly, how are you?
Hey, Tyler. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right.
You
What are your
feeling better?
thoughts today?
I'm sorry, I talked over you. Was that?
What are your thoughts today?
Oh, hey. Yeah. Well, I didn't switch topics as quickly as the others, and where you went to the laundries. I apologize.
That's okay.
I guess I have some things that are on my heart, and I didn't write down the name of our fellow young lady that was concerned about parenting. And I have some thoughts about that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Go for it, huh? I think they're often, it's easy to get caught up into what we shouldn't do, and kind of get ourselves really worried. Now, granted, I was very careful about, and I had an only son, and I still do. He's in his 30s. But I found, and just through a lot of research and looking at healthy ways of parenting, a lot of it is to do things with them. And sometimes, kids, especially early teens or tweens, are not really excited about that. They may whine, but get out into nature, do some regular, like,
I've learned from being around a bajillion teenagers, the best place to have conversations with teenagers seems to be in car rides.
Yes, absolutely. And also, playing games with them as a family, as long as it's not something like really competitive that everybody gets wound up into. But that's another
kind of game worth playing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, we played basic things like Phase 10 or something. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, that's competitive for me.
Is it? I tend to get competitive on some things too, so I tried to keep it not as too intense.
You don't want to play.
But that's one of the things to keep, looking into different activities that you can do together. And we sort of got into gardening and had I had some horses during that time, and I don't right now. And my son was a little reluctant, but when he was playing baseball, I'd throw a baseball with him. Just those kind of things where you spend some time together and it's not too focused on electronics or too focused. And I'm sorry, but I limited my son's interaction on video games in general. And I guess I shouldn't apologize for it. And he wasn't real thrilled about it, but I limited it to an hour. And there were some days he didn't get to do that. And it was just because of the way things worked out with football practice. We also did karate. We did quite a few activities. And I even took karate with him. I was in an adult class. We're in different classes, but we still had a lot to be able to visit about. And also,
did you
after
see
some, I went through. Go ahead.
Did you see the picture of this young man that was responsible for this school shooting whenever he was a kid?
No, I missed that. Help me with that.
You just look like an innocent child a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's just hard to think that an innocent child can become what he became.
Yeah. And, sometimes I think that, especially when parents have to work 2 jobs, and some of don't have that opportunity to really interact and listen to them. But I also went to counseling when he was young, because I also had that concern with, what if, and I tried to repeat the scripture where it says, "Let not your heart be troubled." Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one mantra that I kept going through, and to remind myself that the Lord will, well, for me, I don't know if this is, I just trust that it will alert us in some form or fashion. You talked about kind of having that sixth sense with your little cousin Lily. Like there's a connection there, and I trust that I'll have a gut level response. However, it's just difficult, I think, when we talk about the news has so many challenging things. But as we discuss those, I think we can throw in some of those ideas to share positive ideas. And of course, we were always at church. you know, um, that was part of our lives, and it still is. It's a place where he was able to make friends that have the same interest and goals and youth trips, and that was and it still is. It's very helpful. I know some people don't are too nervous about going into a church building if they hadn't had that exposure. And that was one of the things that our church is working on now, is having meals and activities outside. And it was like a way to, and it still is, a way to kind of reach people who were uncomfortable walking into a building of worship. But we had live worship outside. Some of it was just pop music, which kind of surprised me. But it was sort of I talked about it in the past. We had to stop it during the pandemic. That's
Yeah.
probably everything changed then, didn't it?
Well, I think you're right. You're on the right track. We need to try to think about positive things to do, and I think a lot of people are.
Mhm.
It's just
Mhm.
in this situation, I don't know, and that's why we were talking about it. I don't know what happened to this innocent young child to make him
It
become what he was today. So, thank you,
Okay, and I
Shelly, for calling in.
yes, thanks, and I apologize that I didn't go back to see that.
No, it's okay.
I'll
You'll see it, or I'm sure in the coming days we'll talk about it more. So,
Okay, cool. Y'all have a good night, and I'll stay on our stream.
thank you.
You're welcome. Are you still there? I want to order a book, and I want it to be signed. And which way do you mind telling it? I know you mentioned it last night. The way that where I don't 30% of it doesn't need to go to another location. Do I order it through your site?
Well, that's a different thing I was talking about. I was talking about if you give on Facebook, just donate to the ministry. It doesn't
Oh,
go. But if you buy a book, it doesn't matter if you buy the book from me or Amazon. But if you buy it from me, then like I can sign it. So if you want it signed, you need to buy it from me, which is just tylerfo.com.
okay.
It,
So are you worn out from signing? I saw your stack of
I
books.
was. I'm okay now.
You're a rock star, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thanks.
I saw your stack of books.
Peggy, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. There's an echo in the background. You might need to mute YouTube.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thanks. So what are your thoughts about everything? Peggy, how are you?
Good, Tyler. How are you?
I'm doing well. There's an echo in the background. You might need to mute YouTube.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, hold on one
Thank you.
second.
So what are your thoughts about everything? Peggy, how are you? Did you have it muted? Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay. So what are your thoughts about everything?
I've heard people talking, and in the chat, how parents should be more. What's what I'm looking for? More hands-on.
Uh-huh.
And I am a hands-on parent. However, with this kid, curiosity, was he bullied? Did anybody ever check into that?
He was not bullied according to his brother.
According to his brother, okay. Because I know bullying can cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, it seems like in this case, he was not bullied.
Something made this child snap.
Some people were saying he was bullied, but the sheriff came out and said that there's all kinds of false news, including that. Like somebody was just saying that wasn't true. So, and the brother came out and said he wasn't being bullied.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure because usually there's a reason for kids to snap. And I know some people were also talking about the video game thing. I've got a son who now is 18 years old. And no matter how much parent intuition people say they have, my 18-year-old was bullied so much through school that I took him out of public school and I put him into an online school. Thought that would help. Online schools, you can make friends, but they're not like anybody you hang with. And he had a lot of friends that he talked to on his game system. But he was so depressed about the bullying he received that in my house, I have a very sharp paring knife. And it is like, if you touch it, it will cut you. And I had been missing it for 2 weeks. And I had my 15-year-old child come to me in tears to let me know that he couldn't take the bullying anymore that he was getting. Not only was he getting it from the kids that he went to school with, but he was also getting it from some people online. That my 15-year-old, and I have a lot of mother's intuition, and I checked Facebook and I checked all his online stuff, and I did all of that to find out that my 15-year-old had it and was showing me how he was going to slice his wrist, his arm, his wrist, up his vein.
Wow, I'm sorry you had to deal with that.
That's hard. So it's not that I didn't have parent intuition, and it's not that I didn't spend time with my son, because I work too. And I did spend a lot of time with my son. It's just no matter how much parent intuition you have, or how well you check everything that's going on with your kids, things happen. And you don't always know they're going to.
Yep. You're right.
And it's sad. But something had to make this little boy snap, because no 15-year-old would go to school at just one day and just decide that he's going to pop off his classmate.
You know, there's a very small number of people who've done this ever. Too many. It's too high of a number, but it's a very small number, right? But I say that to say I think it's deeper than sociological problems or problems of the environment. To me, hurting yourself, it's bad and it's unfortunate, but that's
psychological.
When somebody hurts themselves, that's very common. 140,000 or whatever. It's the number one leading cause of death for people 18 and under in Utah. It's the second leading cause of death for people 18 and under across America. Suicide is. So that's common. You know what's not common? People going in their school and shooting people up. And so there's a huge difference between those two things. And so I would say that there's definitely an aspect of deep mental illness or demonic possession that takes place in somebody that would go with a gun to their school and hurt others.
Yeah, like I said, something had to make this kid snap. It just doesn't make any sense. He doesn't look like...
I think his brain was messed up.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was one particular event. I think his brain was messed up. I don't know how you could do that if it wasn't.
I feel awful for the parents. I've seen people doing there's a couple of people, and I'd rather not mention one person's name, who's saying the parents are being charged, or I don't think it's the parents either. I don't think you can blame the parents for what the child did.
it depends. Like, again, more information will come out, like that may or may not impact the parents. You know, we don't know the details surrounding what happened and how much they knew and how much they didn't know. We do know they were at the school that morning before it happened.
Yeah. I mean, my heart breaks for those 4 innocent kids that were killed.
Yeah. Mine
And
too.
their
Oh, yeah.
parents. It does. But my heart also breaks for him and his parents.
I know. Mine too. It's a sucky situation that I wish we didn't have to talk about. You know, last week on Thursday, we had a stream where all we did was talk about good news. Would it be great if that's what we were doing today?
That would be awesome, especially so close to it being holiday, Christmas.
Yeah.
It'd be
I
awesome if
appreciate-
you woke up and everything was just good news for a change.
That will happen in heaven for people who have a relationship with Jesus, but that's pretty much the only time that that's going to happen.
I'm afraid you're right. Thanks for the
Well,
chat.
Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Hey, C. Jordan, how are you?
Fine, Tyler. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for calling in again.
The only thing I was going to say was my situation is identical to Kim. I think her name's Kim Brooks, the pretty blonde-headed young lady. But anyway, I've got, well, y'all know I told y'all when y'all prayed for me and my son Josh about the job situation. He just turned 18 in October of this year. So he's a senior in high school, and I told y'all that too, and he's a straight A student. But I've been blessed, like Kim has been blessed, because I did not buy those games when my son was very young, but he does play some of those games. But Josh is just like Kim's. I think Kim said her older son is a born again Christian. So is my son. And another thing, one of those ladies said, I think it was the lady, not the young lady you just spoke to, but the one ahead of her. That's how I've been. Even though I'm a single divorced mom, I have been 100% involved. You better believe it in my son. He's my only child. So just in case y'all don't know that, I'll tell you now. But I've been involved in his life regardless. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what, if it was Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts. I've been everybody called me the volunteer mom, if that makes sense, because I was involved. But I just think you've got to be involved in your kids' lives. And my sons, you know, we're involved in church too. But I'm just saying, you got to stay in. But I agree with some of you ladies and gentlemen on your channel too. I was going to tell you a little true story, make it a very long story short. They tried to put my son on whatever that medicine's called for ADHD children. Did you know I went and got a second opinion? And thank you, Jesus, that I did, because the second doctor said, no, ma'am, Miss Jordan, you do not, your son Josh does not need to be put on, you know, whatever it was. And I think not only, and you were talking something right, because I've got a friend that's a scientist. Y'all probably have friends too that might be scientists, but they've been testing, you know, food for years. You know, he's in my age range, so he's been doing. But the colors that they put in on the M&Ms, I know y'all are from here, who doesn't like M&Ms, but the colors on there are food items. It's not just M&Ms. I'm just giving you one example. But there's several food items that stuff is not prepared the way it was when I was a child. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it is affecting children, and it's affecting them more. This is what psychologists told me in past years. It's affecting the elementary and the middle school students the worst because of what you also spoke of, or one of the young ladies did in your channel. Their brain is still developing. So it's affecting their brain and the chemistry in their body while, you know, they're eating this food. And you know what I mean?
Some parents know this, because I know as a fact that they're very strict about what ingredients they let their children eat, but it does impact them.
Absolutely. But anyway, like I said, my son did play. He's been playing them games for years, but I've just been blessed. I know it's because he is a born again Christian, and I thank Jesus for that. But I'm just saying, but I agree with you. I think not all of the music industry and not all of the gaming industry. There's just certain games and certain music. I totally agree with you 100%. I know I typed it in your comment section. I probably said 2 or 3 times, I agree with you, Tyler. I agree with you, Tyler. But there's certain games, and I'm not saying they're all at fault, but this gaming and music industry that are selling what I call the music is, I'm not going to say no words. They're just trash words. I call it garbage words. And some of the games are garbage. So I agree with you too. It's a combination of a lot of things. I feel like in this world today that we live in that is corrupting some of our children's minds. And my heart breaks for the parents that lost, what was it, 4 students. And I mean, you know, I have to make myself feel sorry for the boy's parents that, you know, the boy that did the shooting. It's just, and I have to make myself do that because I go through, when I see somebody kill people, like you just said earlier, innocent, totally 100% innocent people, then it bothers me.
It bothers me.
Yeah, it takes me a while to talk to myself and say, Cindy, okay, you try to pray for that boy that did all the shooting, him and his parents. It's hard.
Yep. It is hard.
But anyway.
I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you for calling in.
Okay, you're welcome. You have a blessed night, and God bless you and all of our Christian brothers and sisters.
Yep. Amen.
All right, thank you. All right, bye-bye.
Hey, Patricia, how are you?
Well, I am doing just great, Tyler. How are you?
I'm all right.
You know, as we're talking about this tragedy and what happens with kids when they get into school and how it shapes them and how they react and interact, I thought about when I was young, and I was the oldest of 6 children. And when I was in elementary school, I was really good at, you know, doing my homework and involved in sports, etc. I had friends. Everything was great. I had great grades. Got into 7th grade, and I mentioned, I think last night, that I went to a school that was 7th through 12th grade, all grades together. And I noticed that, you know, we get into the new school, there's different elementary schools that merged in. So the kids that I went to school with in the elementary school were there in the 7th grade with me. But then there were all these other kids from different elementary schools. And then it was a matter of getting to know people. You're required as 7th graders, you're going to learn a lot harder subjects, etc. And in the middle of my 7th grade time, something happened. I suddenly was having trouble reading sentences. I couldn't read music notes. I was having trouble doing simple fractions, mathematics, etc. And it just was getting worse and worse. By the end of the 7th grade, I was failing classes, and went on to the 8th grade. It got worse. By the 9th grade, I was being bullied by kids who teased me about my failures, and it was heartbreaking. You know, these were just kids, you know, being bullies. And I got to a point where I came home from school one day, and I burst into tears, ran down to my bedroom. My dad called me upstairs and he said, "What's going on?" You know, and I told him about the trouble I was having with reading. Well, it turned out to be dyslexia. They didn't know anything about it in the 60s. And so I told him, I was in the 9th grade, and I said, "I don't want to go to school anymore. You know, I'm a failure. Kids are teasing me, and I don't want to go to school anymore." And my dad, he was amazing. He said, "Look," he said, "I know that you're going through a lot, and there's things that we don't understand what's happening. But if you don't want to continue to go to school, I want to think about going and graduating from school for me, and also for you and sisters, because you'll be setting an example. We'll help you with everything we can." And they did. And eventually I made up those classes that I had failed. And even all the way up to the 11th and 12th grade, I was still making up my ninth grade English class. But I did it. I graduated, and I, still to this day, I have trouble with, I still can't read musical notes, and I'm terrible at math. But I taught myself to be a creative writer, and I had to find out letters and syllables and the sounds of words. I had trouble writing down sentences, so I would write down little things and memorize it. Go to school with my index card. I couldn't read them, and so I had to memorize whatever my assignment was for school. Sometimes I stayed up literally all night. I didn't sleep, but I got through it. But I remembered that I went through and I saw my classmates. We all had, peer pressure. We had fashion pressure. We had, acne and growing spurts and the awkward moments and trying to fit in and everything. And during the teen years, all of our innocence of, the young family, you're a 10-year-old, whatever, that kind of changes. And so my parents, they were onto it. They just knew. They could tell when that we were going through something, and they immediately addressed us. They helped us. They worked with the teachers, and the staff. And they told me, stay away from the bullies. If the bullies come after you, they weren't hitting me or anything like that. One girl did hurt me one time in school, but he said, walk away. Let us know who it is, and we will take care of it with the principal. And so I learned to walk away. I learned not to receive it. And I didn't take it personally, because these people who were bullying other kids as well. And then you graduate from high school eventually. And hopefully by that time, your mind is shaping into adulthood, and you learn the lessons of what you went through. And because I had parents, because I had a wonderful, wonderful Christian grandmother who really helped me a lot, I got through it, and I learned that I wanted to be the one to help children. And so I was a teacher, I was a tutor, I was a Sunday school teacher. I had my own daycare center in my home. I wanted to help children. And so it motivated me in a way that I felt that I went through terrible things, but I want to be an influence in a good way. And so it was good to help me focus on that. My niece, who went to school in Spokane, she saw all the bullying, and she looked it up online, found out that there were actually school programs for anti-bullying, and she took it on. She became the champion for it. And
Yeah,
now
those things exist all over, and even more so now. And whenever I was a teacher, the students could submit anonymously if they wanted to about somebody that was being a bully, so that it wasn't, the authorities or the principal or whoever literally had no idea what student had sort of told on them. And I think I thought it was a great solution, a great thing, to be able to do that. Sherry says, we need prayer in this country. I couldn't agree with you more, Sherry. Thank you for that super chat, because absolutely, bajillion, quadrillion, bajillion %, that to me is the only thing that is the real solution. It's the real solution. Somebody the other day was mocking me in the comments saying, so if you pray, everything's fixed. Yeah, I think so. If people actually pray and believe that God can do the impossible, he does the impossible. I've seen it a million times. Problem is 1,000 Christians sit around and say they're praying about stuff and none of them actually pray. That's frustrating. That's actually frustrating. Shelly, thank you so much for that super sticker. Thank you for sending a heart to the channel. It's just a way to say you appreciate the content here, and so I appreciate your support. Thank you. What do you think, Patricia? Don't you think prayer is the answer?
Yes, I do. I just want to say something to the fellow fam here on the chat. When you see me put up the emojis of the praying hands, the heart, and then the praying hand, I am in the process of verbally praying out loud for you. Whatever the situation is, whatever you're talking about, that's kind of my signature online. And that's me. I will pray when I see a problem. The solution takes action from me. That is to earnestly pray for Father to agree to bring his help into that situation, whatever it is. And so I've had the Lord's record on answering my prayers is amazing. And I know for many of the Feller fam, I see testimonies. And the Lord hears. And we have to listen for his answer and then take the action. So I believe strongly in prayer, Tyler.
I do. Oh, well, this is what I'm saying. Like, I have a track record of knowing the Lord does impossible things. So when people mock it in the comments, it's like, you're not mocking me, you're mocking God. Boo, be careful with that one, is really what I want to say. Like, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. Anyways, thank you, Patricia, for calling in.
Oh, you're welcome, Tyler. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Grandma Patty says, no Jesus, no peace. Couldn't have said it better myself. I totally agree. By the way, we had something today we called the beginnings class. And if you missed it, we can send you a link to sort of watch the rewatch. There is an assignment. And we're going to have another beginnings class. This was beginnings class 101. We're going to have another beginnings class 201 in 2 weeks, December 15th. You cannot attend beginnings class 201 unless you have attended and did the work from beginnings class 101. So it's a spiritual class. I literally talk about the Bible in it, and I go through the Bible. But in that, I give an assignment at the end for people to determine through a test what their spiritual gift is. And so you cannot attend the next class unless you participate in the rewatch of the beginnings class 101. Okay. And a lot of people have already done their homework, but and some people missed it, unfortunately. But if you missed it, you can still go back and rewatch it. And you just need to ask someone to give you the link for the rewatch. And you have to do the homework to be a part of the next one. So, and then another thing is, if you go to tylerfellow.com and you click on merch, there's some great merch on there. And then expires today, 15% off of everything. Again, I don't set those coupons, so I don't even know when they're going to pop up. Expires today, 15% off of everything. And we have the Don't Stop Santa Claus hat. We got a deer design, which I think is pretty cool. You guys like that deer design? Let me know. It has a Bible verse on the back. Psalm 42:1 that says, as the deer longs for water, I long for you. It's a great. We got this Romans 12:2, a new mind. And then, as always, we have the Don't Stop merch, and we have Feller Fam merch as well. Let me see. Yeah, there's the Feller Fam merch. So we have the Feller Fam merch as well. So we have Feller Fam. We even have Feller Fam hat, Santa hat. So we have Feller Fam and Don't Stop. Literally, like hundreds of different options of stuff to pick from. Like different kinds of shirts. Just you name it. A long hoodie-looking dress. Christy ordered the pajamas. She said they fit true to size. She didn't get the deer pajamas. I think she got the Feller Fam pajamas, I think. But they're I think they're pretty much the same, just with the design on them. She said they fit true to size and they're very soft and comfortable. So if you guys are interested in merch, you can do that. Another thing is, if you guys haven't done so, if you guys have read the Don't Stop book, and if you haven't submitted a review of the book, could you do that? If you've read it, could you submit a review of the book? I'm trying to get to 50. I'm on 29, so trying to get to 50. So Charlie said bought a bunch of merch. That's great, Charlie. I never know who makes the merch purchases, so thank you so much for doing that. Can you send me a picture? I'm trying to collect pictures of people like wearing the Don't Stop merch or Feller Fan merch, or not very many people's ordered that deer. Somebody ordered 2 deer shirts yesterday, but not very many people's ordered the deer, and I don't think anybody's ordered the brain one. But Southern Gal Jen says, when will I get my book from you? Okay, very soon. You should get it like within a couple days. and it's autographed, and it just feels so soft. It just feels so soft. The Don't Stop book. If you guys haven't seen it, I was on the news, CBS News, for Jackson, Mississippi yesterday. So check that out as well. And I just want to bless you. I'm going to pray for you. It's going to be the end of our stream. I'll be back tomorrow. Come ready. So, Father, I just bless everybody on this chat right now. I bless them with your grace, bless them with your power, bless them with your hope. Father, anybody that's struggling, I pray the Bible says we can give all of our cares to you and you take them. So, Father, I just pray physically we hand our cares over to you right now in the mighty name of Jesus. And yeah, Father, if there's anybody on this stream who has issues in their body, that you just correct those issues and bring them healing in Jesus' name. Amen.